Happy New Year, friends. Today we're going to deep dive the astral body, astral travel, dreams, and sphere travel with the sacred fire. There's going to be information here that you don't get anywhere else because most people who astral travel do not understand what they are doing or what is happening with them. So today you're going to get the real truth, and you're going to learn what it means to be responsible with your consciousness, taking care of your consciousness. So I want to start with astral travel. I do not recommend it, and this is why. I've been astral traveling since I was 7 years old, and I have a lot of experience in this area. So when I say I do not recommend it, I only recommend it if you are traveling in what I've called sphere travel, sacred fire sphere travel, which I'll explain in a minute. But first, let me go back to why I do not recommend astral traveling. First of all, those of you who have been with my library for a long time, you know that there are different densities or frequencies of consciousness. You know that everybody, 99.9% of the people who die, they leave straight from this physical body into their astral body, and they live in the astral purgatory worlds with the same personality, living with their dead relatives and living the same life like they lived on earth. I've traveled there enough and seen my own past relatives who have passed over, and many friends I have that passed over I visited. They're all living just like they lived here. Good spiritual people. So we are trying to bypass the astral world. That is the lowest frequency body that you have access to other than this animal body. What we are working to do in this library is get, well, where most everybody's going with the Great Migration. As I've said before, they're going into the next level, which is fourth density Star Trek worlds. This is where the fallen Lords of Light were cast down to, this fourth density. And then that's probably where most people are going. It is a step up from here. You have to expand your consciousness enough to relate to that reality by being telepathic and other things. But the higher densities of fifth density fifth density is still planetary beings. It's not till you get to sixth density that you are not considered planetary beings, but star beings. To get to those densities, these higher bodies, this is our goal. Our goal is not to dwell in the astral worlds, friends. So it is not advisable for you to astral travel. And here's why. First, I'm going to tell you a story about my own experience with this. I have been astral traveling since 7, but I want to talk about something that happened more recently in the mid-2000s, when I went through a number of years of the dark night of the soul. And I have written about this in my Patreon group. My Patreon friends know all about this. But there was a large onslaught of dark force attacks, and there was also the secret space program, military hounding me. It was just a lot of stuff, and stalkers. It was just a lot of stuff. And so at that time, I did have my sphere, my sacred fire sphere protection, but I was astral traveling quite a bit during that time period, really, because I was being taken onto ships, and I've talked about this in other videos, and they have technology in fourth density ships, spaceships. They have technology that you take your astral body there, and you stand on this platform, and there's technology there where when it's activated, it grounds your astral body to match the frequency of the ship and reality you're working in. So fourth density beings have the ability to take your astral body and shift it into their density and ground it there, so you're walking on the ships just like they are. You're communicating in the physical reality just like they are. So during all this time period when I was experiencing these things with the secret space program, military people, and also extraterrestrials who were wanting me to join their group, there was a number of extraterrestrials who were looking for humans to take on board their ships and into their communities and become part of their fourth density communities. I was being asked and invited to do a lot of this. I had been spending a lot of time traveling in my astral body, even though I was at that time beginning to work in fifth density body, my smart body that I have videos on. But it was during this time period I had some really strong learning curve to go through when these fourth density dark lords of light actually manifested in my house, and I had to do a lot of battles and things, and I've already talked about that, so I'm going to not go too much into that. But after this whole process of dealing with all this turmoil that was going on with me, I had to sort of rebuild my belief systems. I had to really evaluate where was the weak points in my system that was causing me to be like a big red flag for all these beings. I was like on everybody's radar. I mean, all these beings in fourth density and the astral worlds, they all just kind of had a radar on me. So I learned through discussing this with my divine blueprint guides. Remember, we have higher beings living in our blueprint that are fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth density ascended beings, and they are our direct lineage. And we also have to deal with our corrupt family lineage. Those are other videos. But I work with my divine lineage, my higher beings, and I had to learn that the astral body is not where you want to spend your time. And I have told you in another video last year, I think it was labeled ETs and Dark Forces or something, but I told you about how the extraterrestrials in fourth density have the technology and the ability to release the latch on the back of your spine, right around your heart chakra, and actually force your astral body out. So I'm going to talk about this. This is the astral body and the astral worlds are the fallen reality. And we do not want to spend very much time in the astral worlds. You do not want to deliberately astral travel because most of you, in fact, everybody I've ever talked to, they astral travel without a destination, without a purpose, and without being able to control what they're encountering. And once you yank your astral body away from your physical body, your astral body is where all these watchers, influencers, whatever you want to name them, you know, fallen angels, whatever, that's what they are looking for. They are looking for consciousness. They're not interested in your physical body, except maybe to wreak havoc in the physical world with it occasionally, and to do you in by all of your addictions. So, but what they're really wanting is your consciousness, and what they really want is your consciousness trapped in your astral body. And so when you deliberately separate yourself, your astral body, from your physical body, you are now a target with no protection, and you don't know what you're doing, and you don't know where you're going, and you don't know who you're encountering. And now you're just out there floating around for anyone who's watching and paying attention to capture and to manipulate and to start to attach themselves to you, because once you're in an astral body, entities can attach, they can manipulate, they can capture it and take it places, they can do all kinds of things because you are not consciously evolved enough to understand what you're dealing with your astral body. This is the very important video for 2021 to listen to. I don't know how long it's going to be, but I'm going to talk till I'm done. So in this experience I had, once I was rebuilding my belief systems and finding where my points of weakness might be, I began to understand it was all these trips that I had been going through with my astral body to these ships, these spaceships, to these extraterrestrials who would show up. And so I then began to learn from my higher sphere being, density, ascended beings that I work with, that there is a reason we really have to be careful here. They showed this to me. And when one of my guides showed up, and I was in my Sacred Fire sphere of protection, this is many videos on that, but I was inside my sphere. They took me into my astral body, and I had this guide go with me into the astral world. And when I was in the astral world with my sphere, I could see it. They said, now, and they were also inside my sphere, this divine ascended being. Now this being told me, we want you to take your astral body and go up to the top of your sphere and go through it. Just poke your head out of the top of the sphere, your head, your shoulders, just come out the top of it, but leave the most of your body inside your sphere. And they were standing there, right there with me. And we want you to see, truly see what's going on. So I rose up in my astral body, and my sphere normally travels with me equally everywhere I go, but my sphere stayed steady. And this being was controlling some of this situation. So as I broke the barrier of my protection, my Sacred Fire sphere, and I came out of it and I looked around, I was speechless. What I saw was a vast, you could say, desert, or just a vast landmass as far as you could see, of astral bodies of people like you and me that we know, pretty much everyone. They were buried, like it was like a desert, and their astral bodies were buried in the sand, and the only thing that was showing above the sand was their head and neck. Now, anybody who's done any kind of studies on the wars around here in the world know that there are some countries that actually do this. They bury you in the sand and stone you or something, you know, stone your head. Well, where do they get these kind of ideas? So while I was watching this vast desert of millions upon millions of people trapped, buried in this sand-like astral goo, I saw these entities, not very nice ones, walking among them with these large mallets, and they would go by and they would hit these people on the head and laugh at them and keep walking. And they were like guards. They were like their prison guards. And these people are people throughout history. They're people, maybe even people you know, that have passed on. There are just millions of them, millions. And they were all in this mentality of suffering, of pain, of victimhood. Just all kinds of emotion was erupting from them as I looked around in this group. And the being that was in my sphere with me tapped me and told me, like, come on, because I didn't want to get on anyone's radar. I went right back down inside my sphere, and it sealed back up. And I was standing inside my sphere with one of my ascended beings who work with me. And we discussed what it was I witnessed, and this is what I'm telling you. Thereafter, your astral body, because that is where your consciousness, remember, consciousness is not attached to the physical body. Consciousness is attached to your divine blueprint. Consciousness, though, is when you pass over, your consciousness, if you don't expand it and free yourself, your consciousness transfers to your astral body, your closest body. It's still part of the fallen program though. And this, in our original divine state, before this sixth density pattern keepers kicked out those lords of light and dropped them down to fourth density, in the original state of third density, there is no astral body. There was no astral body. There was no midpoint. This is part of the pattern that was inserted into our divine blueprint. I've done videos on this that caused the separation of this reality and this body and its blueprint from the divine blueprint. I've done videos on that. But part of this reason is because they want to capture your consciousness in your astral body. And once they can capture your astral body, they have your consciousness. And this is why we don't grow out of this reality. This is why there are billions trapped here in the astral worlds of this third density planet. And they capture it, and it goes to this place that is, now I want to say to you, you may think, well, that must be hell. Well, it might be, but I want to tell you, there are a lot of normal people that I saw on this large Sahara-type desert. These were not all of the murderers and all those kind of people. They are trapped somewhere, and probably even worse than that. This was millions and millions of everyday people. Now, what makes these everyday people, when they pass over into the astral worlds after death, wind up in this desert? Well, some of it is the astral traveling, which is not millions, which there are millions of people that astral travel. Well, actually everyone astral travels, but it's a degree of whether or not when you come back you can actually remember it. But the point being is that because of our family lineage, which I've done videos on, and this is where, because there is no reincarnation, that is a fallen concept to continue the trapped astral bodies here and to set up God-like rulership over this planet, i.e., in India, they have the caste system, and they have these higher Brahmins, which are, God-like being representatives. They have kings and queens. I've said this before. The Pope, anybody who sets them up like that, they want to establish that there are rulers over us, or people better. So what I want to say that is that they have these systems that are put in on this planet have continuously created victimhood, victim beliefs that are in our lineage. So all of our programming that we have is coming from our family lineage, of thousands of lifetimes of our family lineage. And what's been happening in the past 6, 7, 8,000, 10,000 years? A lot of war, a lot of death, disease, destruction, a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, these kind of things. And so if you have people who are depressed, if you have people who are living as victims, even if they're in the modern Western worlds with, what some people in the world might consider a decent job, they're very unhappy. They feel victimized by their government or by their family or whatever. We have these programs that keep us in a low vibration. This is why we pass over into our astral body. The astral worlds are pure emotion, and they are fear generated. And our emotions, most of them are fear generated. Now there are ways to pass over into the astral world where you pass into higher frequencies of the astral world. So it's not all like that. But the beings who manage to still stay stuck in the astral because let's say they really, really are attached to their family. This is how this happens a lot. They're attached to their religion, they're attached to their family, and so when they pass over, they don't allow themselves to expand and go into the stars and to have new realities. They want to see their dead parents, they want to be with their dead relatives, they want to keep their same identity. And these could be very good people who don't have a lot of victim mentality. And they will go into an astral area that has a kingdom or communities there that are not buried in these sands, people buried in these sands. But I was surprised too when I was witnessing these people buried in these sands that they're your neighbors. They're not the real bad people, they're your neighbors. So what I want to say is to not even deal with the whole astral world. We need to not expose our astral body to the astral worlds. So now to go on with this idea. We want to keep our astral body attached to our physical body. You do not want to shoot out of it uncontrollably and, fly around and woohoo, because you're on the radar when you get yourself separated like that. And because you don't have control and power, you haven't built a power base with the sacred fire, you have no protectional sphere around you with the sacred fire, you're fair game. Even if you are a good person, you're fair game. Because, I'm a good person. I know a lot of people who are good people who have had entities show up in their house. I know people like this. I know people who've had trouble with entities. They're all good people, but it's because they don't have protection and they don't understand. Stay out of the astral worlds. I spend as little amount of time as possible in the astral worlds these days. I stay in higher frequencies, and this is what I'm wanting you to understand. Now I want to move to dreams and lucid dreams. You will always have dreams that are helping you process hidden aspects of yourself. And now this part of lucid dreaming is very important. Lucid dreaming, where you wake up in the dream. Now, you have not shot out of your body. You have not released. You have not forced the latch on the back of your back of your heart chakra to release you. You haven't made yourself vulnerable. In lucid dreaming, your consciousness is contained. Your body is contained in your body is contained. Your consciousness expands and awakens in another frequency, okay? Now, this is far less precarious, and you will, when you have lucid dreamings, you will have dreams that upset you or could be what you consider negative. But I want to talk to you about the whole plethora of dreams. There is a large section of your dream time where you are dealing with your hidden selves, your hidden blind spots that you can't see. And this is the value of working with higher consciousness and the value of working inside a sphere of protection. Because when you are inside a sphere of protection, you can process your hidden aspects, the shadow side of yourself. You can process that in lucid dreaming safely inside your sphere without interference of beings who would like to, use your energy force. So when you have these dreams that when you wake up you think, well, that wasn't all that pleasant, it's because your higher consciousness beings who are working with you are always trying to alert you to your shadow hidden self. And these parts of ourself, we all have them, are like our little vulnerable little spots. We don't see them. There are behaviors, there are fear patterns, there are lack of self-worth, there are lack of trust in the benevolence and love of the universe. There are judgment of others. There are addictions that we have, our prescription drugs, our recreational drugs, our alcohol, cigarettes, chemicals, whatever kind of addictions you have, sex. There are all these spots that you behave in unconsciously because they are habitual patterns passed to you through your family lineage that you aren't aware of. And you may be slightly aware of them when it blows up in your face. But in your lucid dreaming time, you are processing that. It is that the higher guides are working with you, giving you examples to constantly see what you're doing, constantly see where that fear pattern is, constantly see where you're second guessing yourself. You're always falling back instead of going forward. You're always questioning something instead of moving forward. You're afraid of this, you're afraid of that, you attack this, you attack that. All of that is processed in your lucid dreaming, and it's very important because you can't get to higher consciousness and free your body from the astral worlds unless you know your blind spots. So lucid, this is why I recommend, and I constantly recommend you keep a journal. Journals are very, very important. Journals, you need to write down everything, not just your lucid dreaming, but any precognitions, premonition, telepathy, automatic writing, synchronicities, anything that's spiritually related goes in your journal, because your higher self sets up a journey, a map for you. It's not up to you to know the map. It's for you to take this next step on the journey. But they have the map, and they are going to send you guidance in how to follow this journey. And you get a lot of this guidance in your dreams, and then in synchronicities, and people or books or things that happen, or premonition about something. All these things fit together in a pattern of guidance. And you need a book, a journal, to read through day after day, after week, and find the connections and find where the guidance is trying to go and trying to make you go, what direction your guidance is pushing you towards. So this is also why keeping a journal is important, because you have to unearth these shadow sides, and you have to face your fears, and you have to clean out your entire system in order to free yourself from these astral worlds. So this moves me to the sphere traveling that I want to talk about with your sacred fire sphere. And I have lots of videos on the sacred fire. But friends, before you do anything spiritually, before you even sit down to meditate, and astral travel and lucid dream and everything else, you have to do two things. Build a power base of divine energy that is at a higher frequency than what this reality is. You have to pull in that sacred fire. You have to allow it because it's powerful. I've done videos on how powerful it will shake your body. You have to allow this energy in to build a power base, because you have to have a power base of higher frequency energy in your system in order to be able to separate yourself from the astral world. And two, you must have protection. Absolutely must have protection. There's no way around that. So I have done videos on protection. So there is ways to travel inside your sacred fire sphere of protection. Once you build it, you want to reinforce it with but when you do your meditations, you reinforce it with more sacred fire until those walls of the sphere are very thick and very powerful. You want to build what, like in Qigong and Tai Chi is called Qi. You want to build your power base so you can have the power to heal yourself, have the power to do telepathy, have the power to expand your consciousness into higher frequencies, have the power to free yourself from the astral worlds. This all takes work. This takes work and dedication to do. But once you've built your sphere and you're now lucid dreaming or lucid traveling, you will be invited as with your sphere with higher beings. Remember, some fourth density and all astral don't care. They don't want your sphere of protection. But there are very good extraterrestrials in fourth density and higher who will not contact you. They will not contact you in your astral travel or lucid dreams unless you have a sphere of protection. They won't. And this brings me to one more comment. Stay away from anyone who says they channel. Stay away from channels, people who are walk-ins, people who have surrendered their divine sovereignty to other beings, because no ascended being, no higher angelic being is going to ever channel. So anybody who's channeling ascended masters or higher beings or whatever, they are not. The only beings who will enter into your body, because you've given them permission, are lower astral bodies, lower astral beings, and fourth density beings who were demoted down here in the Great War I spoke about in other videos. They want to get a hold of your astral body. They will happily channel through you. So stay away from channeling and all that stuff. Stay away from all that stuff. And so what will happen once you build a solid sphere of protection and a good power base is these higher beings of fourth density and higher beings in fifth density will begin to contact you and will begin to work with you as guides, because you have expanded your consciousness and acted like a responsible spiritual being and protected yourself from all the waves and turmoil of an ocean full of this astral emotional waves that are so discordant. Higher beings aren't coming down to your discordant energy. They aren't coming to you. So if beings are coming to you, then you know it's part of this discordant wave. So once you get protection and a power base, and you can move yourself out of all those clashing waves of energy, and you are now in a smooth, finer vibration of frequency, this is where, through telepathy and other kinds of lucid dreaming, you will encounter the more productive guides. And remember, I want to say this, you always have access to guidance, no matter what vibration you're in at the moment, even if you're in some despair because somebody died or something, because you have a divine blueprint. And in your divine blueprint are thousands of beings up the blueprint at all of the higher frequencies. Now, can you reach them? They're always trying to help you and guide you, but if your mind is too caught in astral turmoil because you lack mental discipline and you lack emotional calm and inner peace, you're going to have a hard time hearing them, even though they're standing right beside you or talking to you in your head. You're going to hear all the noise. So we have to quiet the monkey mind, and we have to develop inner peace. And this comes from trusting the universe, trusting that the universe is benevolent. The universe loves you. The universe is benevolent. Life is benevolent, and joy and abundance is there for you, and happiness is possible, and expanding your consciousness so that you can leave here and travel the stars is our destiny. We are supposed to leave this realm and this reality and this planet and move to other stars, move to other planets, move to higher frequencies. There is a massive amount of love moving on this planet at a higher fourth density and fifth density. It moves in a flow around this planet. I've spoken about this in a video. There is great love and frequency of benevolence here. It's our job to reach it. And the final thing I'm saying with this on this video is we reach it by challenging ourselves to move through our fears, to step into the unknown. I've done videos on this. Higher consciousness lives in the unknown, not the known, because our brains are constantly filling in every moment of your life with patterns from history, filling in the unknown moment, the moment before you do something. The very next moment is unknown. Your brain will fill that in with a known, because it is a fearful brain. It is a fearful pattern. So we have to learn to trust the unknown. We have to learn, I mean deeply learn, that the universe is benevolent, that life will always support us. No matter what it looks like, no matter what happens to you, there is a benevolent, peaceful path and direction you can go no matter what is happening. But to do that, we must be spiritual warriors. We must discipline our minds and calm our emotions and learn to trust that all of life loves us and will always take care of us. Thank you, friends.